Nuka World, at its peak, stood as a glorious example of American capitalism. However, maintaining such an operation was an equally monumentous task. In order to be able to efficiently maintain their titan of industry, the Nuka-Cola Company would construct many small settlements surrounding the park. Today, let's take a walk and explore the unmarked settlement of Nuka-Southeast. As we approach the town, the first thing to be noted is the good condition of the buildings relative to the rest of the capital wasteland. Now, because Nuka World was so isolated, most of its structures escaped the shockwave and general bombardment during the Great War. However, as we will see later, these residents did not escape the fallout. As we enter the town, we see our first signs of recent activity. Settlers have constructed wooden fortifications at the entrance. If we take a left, we will stumble upon a man-made cesspool. This is most likely a water waste outlet meant to take water from the park to a processing plant. I believe that this is the main culprit in killing the original inhabitants because it would have been an excellent transportation vessel for nuclear fallout. Returning to Main Street, and we can further see the extent the Nuka-Cola Company went to make sure that their employees and families felt like they were at home. Heading up the fire escape, and we find a skeleton. Now I have a hard time believing this is an original occupant because of the jet next to them. Jet was manufactured after the Great War. However, it is entirely possible that they were ghoulified as the bombs went off and returned later at some point with some jet to enjoy one last puff at their home. Returning to ground level and heading down the alley, and I believe we stumble upon the original occupants of the town, or at least those that stuck around. Now, if you remember, I briefly touched on the water outlet that likely carried radioactive material and spread it throughout the town. Now I believe those occupants that stayed after the bombs fell would have slowly been poisoned by this radioactive material, however, not in a great enough quantity to ghoulify them. As a result, they withered away one by one, succumbing to their illnesses. As we continue our walk to the southernmost part of the town, we stumble upon a school and attached playground. Now this being here further exemplifies the Nuka-Cola Company's goal of making sure that their employees and families felt at home. Now there are no original victims here, but it should be noted there are a couple strangely positioned bones on the rocket ship and the monkey bars, suggesting some strange activity, maybe somebody going crazy after the bombs fell. Continuing past the playground, and we discover one of the few buildings we can enter. Now this building appears to be a diner and would have served a dual purpose as both a place to get food as well as a major social outlet among the community. Just like the playground, this showcases the Nuka-Cola Company's attention to making sure that individuals within this community felt fulfilled. Continuing our journey parallel to Main Street, and we can see further evidence of settlers trying to establish themselves at Southeast. Despite all this evidence, there's not a soul in sight, and I think it's safe to assume that this is the raiders doing. We know that before the raiders came, this was an independent trading settlement, and I think it's likely some of the settlers would have expanded out here. After the raiders arrived and began to expand themselves, they would have forced these settlers out, most likely killing or enslaving them. And finally, as we continue to our last point of interest, we can see even more wooden fortifications. Around the fortifications, we can see pallets, barrels, and different apparatuses to help with construction. Now all of this suggests that whoever was here for the long haul, and I don't think they would have packed up and left on their own terms. Now this suggests that when the raiders arrived, they gave them two choices: leave or die, or no choice at all. As we explore the bus stop, we can find one skeleton, a man curled up with his flamingos. Now I believe that this man most likely came to the bus stop in an attempt to find somewhere safe after the bombs fell or shortly before. And, not wanting to leave his prized flamingo collection, he brought it with him. Unfortunately, this bus never came, and he died where he waited. And finally, as we leave the bus station, we can find our final skeleton, a lone individual in a dress taking in a view of the park, who likely came here to enjoy their last moments in peace. And with that, our walk is concluded, and we can bid Southeast and its stories adieu.